James Gunn might be getting fired from DC Studios. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who was supposed to save DC, the guy who rebooted the entire universe, threw out Henry Cavill, and promised a bright, cohesive future, might be out on his ass before the second movie even hits theaters. Superman lost money, Peacemaker flopped, and now Warner Brothers might be getting sold to the same company that just bought Paramount. So buckle up, because we need to talk about how James Gunn's DCU might be dead before it really lived. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, do me a solid, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our coverage of the absolute chaos that's going on within modern Hollywood. Now, I know we've all been through this song and dance before with DC. 4 times we can count, actually. But it looks like we might be gearing up for yet another reboot. I'm talking about James Gunn potentially being shown the door if this Warner Brothers Discovery sale goes through. And before you keyboard warriors out there start typing in all caps, yes, all this is technically a rumor. But buckle up, because this one actually makes a lot of sense when you look at what's been happening behind the scenes. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive into how the Gunn-iverse might crash and burn before it even gets off the ground. So here's the deal. According to multiple legit, and I use that word loosely, legit outlets like Deadline, Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, Cosmic Book News, so on and so forth, David Ellison and his newly merged Paramount Skydance are preparing to make a bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. Yes, the Warner Brothers. The house the Bugs Bunny built, the home of DC Comics, Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, and a mountain of debt that would make Lex Luthor blush. And after merging with Paramount back in August, David Ellison apparently looked around and said, you know what? I need more. So now they're eyeing Warner Brothers Discovery in its entirety. The reported offer? Roughly $20 per share, which Warner Brothers rejected as too low, naturally. The next bid could land somewhere between $22 and $24 per share. My guess is right smack dab in the middle at 23, but what do I know? Backed by Larry Ellison, yes, the Oracle billionaire and David's dad. And here's where it gets very interesting for DC fans who've endured more reboots than Batman's had Robins. According to Cosmic Book News, and yes, again, take this with a grain of salt, insider sources claim that if Ellison buys Warner Brothers Discovery, James Gunn is out as head of DC Studios. Gone, fired, shown the door. And honestly, after looking at the evidence, I'm not shocked. The report claims that Mike DeLuca would take over DC and, wait for it, reboot the whole thing again. I know. How many times are we going to do this? At this point, DC has rebooted more times than Windows Vista. But before we roast that, let's talk about why this might actually happen. Forbes recently dropped a report that should have set alarm bells off at Warner Brothers. According to their analysis, Superman, the big flagship movie meant to launch the new DC Universe, or DCU, actually lost money in its theatrical run. Not a little. We're talking about somewhere in the $42 million range. So $42 million short of profitability. Now, the gun defenders out there will say, but it made $615 million worldwide. Sure. But there's this little thing called math. And I've said this in other videos. I'm going to repeat it again for those of you in the back. Production budget. $225 million. That's the number we're going to go with, but some of us believe that number is actually much higher based on some tax documents that were filed in the state of Ohio, but we'll go with the $225 million number. Marketing, $125 million. Total, $350 million when it's all said and done. Now, theaters keep somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of the ticket sales. I'm going to use 50% because it's easy to use 50%. It's a nice round, even number. So Warner Brothers only pockets out of the $615 million, $308 million. Last time I checked, $308 million was less than $350 million, so that's a loss. Now, could Superman make up the gap through streaming, digital sales, and merch? Sure. But this was supposed to be the movie that launched the DCU. Think of it as their Iron Man or their Batman Begins. And it couldn't even turn a profit. Now compare that to Man of Steel, released back in 2013, which when adjusted for inflation made around $938 million. Yeah, let that sink in. But wait, there's more. Forgot about Peacemaker. Peacemaker Season 2 to be exact. And it has been, let's say, divisive. Reports say that both Creature Commandos and Peacemaker Season 2 failed to chart on Nielsen. That means despite the marketing blitz, people just weren't watching. They weren't tuning in. And look, the first season of Peacemaker, it was okay. I mean, it had heart, I think. Maybe, possibly. But Season 2? Holy shnikes. Yikes. We're talking full frontal nudity, orgies in episode 1, political messaging that turned off a big chunk of the audience. Now, superhero stories can tackle serious issues. But maybe, just maybe, don't open your cinematic universe with orgies and moral lectures. Just saying. Gunn proclaimed Peacemaker Season 2 was a sequel to Superman, except it wasn't. The connections were weak at best. It felt like he was retconning on the fly, trying to Avengers his way through without doing the groundwork. Here's where things get a little bit juicier. Cosmic Book News claims multiple DCU projects have stalled because of Gunn's interference. Remember he made that comment, he's in charge so he can do whatever he wants? Well, filmmakers reportedly want their own vision, but Gunn insists everything must fit his vision. Does that sound familiar to you guys? If it doesn't, it should. That's exactly what happened with Kevin Feige's MCU during phases 4 and 5. The early MCU worked because directors like Jon Favreau, Joss Whedon, the Russo brothers, and even James Gunn himself had creative freedom within their larger plan. But now, reports say Gunn's micromanaging everything, turning directors into hired hands, executing his blueprint. And surprise, surprise, visionary directors are steering clear of DC, Marvel, and even Star Wars because, quote, life is too short. Gee, wonder why. Here's another bombshell for you guys. Gunn has reportedly pivoted from his Gods and Monsters storyline to what he's now calling the Superman Family Saga. Why, you ask? Well, because allegedly he knows the sale is coming. He's fast-tracking projects involving his wife, Jennifer Holland, and close friends before the new bosses change the locks. It's like he's treating DC Studios as his personal playground, pushing out passion projects while actual priorities, like The Brave and the Bold, keep getting delayed. Meanwhile, Clayface gets fast-tracked. I mean, nothing against Clayface, but, priorities like Batman, just saying. Let's get back to this Mike DeLuca guy. So who is Mike DeLuca? Well, he's got an impressive resume. He discovered David S. Goyer of Blade and Man of Steel fame, helped shepherd Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and oversaw hits like The Conjuring. He and Pab Abdi just re-signed with Warner Brothers, reportedly at David Ellison's request. The word is that DeLuca wouldn't bring back the Snyderverse, but he would reboot DC again focusing on truth, justice, and the American way, a more traditional, less divisive take on the brand. And honestly, after orgies and Peacemaker and Superman barely breaking even, maybe that's not such a bad idea. Here's what kills me in all this. James Gunn was brought in to reboot DC after the Snyderverse crashed. And now, just 2 short years later, we're staring down another reboot because his approach isn't working either. DC is stuck in an infinite loop of reboots. They're the Groundhog Day of the cinematic universes. And at this rate, I expect, half expect, another reboot in 2027 from some new director promising that this time they'll get it right. The sad thing, parts of the DCU, it worked. Henry Cavill's Superman was beloved. Jason Momoa's Aquaman was successful. But instead of fixing what didn't work, they tossed everything out. And now, they might be doing it again. Now, just to be clear, this is all still rumor. Gunn hasn't been fired. The sale hasn't happened yet. And nobody's commenting. But the writing is on the wall. Superman underperformed. Peacemaker isn't pulling numbers. Filmmakers are reportedly frustrated. And David Ellison's preparing a bid with executives who see DC's future very differently. Whether you love Gunn or can't stand him, one thing's for sure. DC deserves better than this revolving door of chaos. Fans deserve a universe that lasts longer than 2 years. And these characters, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, deserve the respect they've earned over 8 decades. So what do you guys out there think? Is James Gunn on the way out? Should he be? And if Mike DeLuca takes over, what kind of DC would you want to see? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading them all. Can't respond to them all because I'm kind of busy, but I will read them all. And if you enjoyed this video, again, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Because something tells me we've got plenty more to cover in the months ahead. Until next time, this has been The Critical Nerd. Stay critical, stay nerdy, and remember, in Hollywood, nothing's permanent except the threat of another reboot. Peace out.